Hello, my fellow readers. Today I am going to talk about The Cornered Mouse Dreams of Cheese, and also just a little bit about The Carp on the Chopping Block Jumps Twice. This is like part one of the story. This is part two. They are both by Setona Mizushiro, and they are in the BL category. Setona Mizushiro is well known for doing the manga After School Nightmare and also Black Rose Alice. I think that Black Rose Alice did not have a conclusive ending, if I remember correctly, but this is some of her other work. She always tells very interesting, character-driven stories that bring up a lot of questions on a variety of things, but usually just very interesting stories. So The Cornered Mouse Dreams of Cheese is about this guy, Otomo Kyoichi, whose wife hires a private investigator to look into him, suspecting him of having an affair. So she wants the proof so that she can potentially divorce him. And the private investigator that she hired just happens to be someone that actually knew Kyoichi. So his name is Imagase, and I believe they met in college. I don't think it was high school, but in one of the two areas, Kyoichi was Imagase's senpai, and Imagase had a big crush on Kyoichi. So he sort of uses his private investigating to take advantage of Kyoichi. We see the two, like at the very beginning, I think, having dinner, and sort of through blackmail, Imagase says that he won't say anything to his wife as long as he lets him kiss him. So questionable, little dubious start to their whole association, but Kyoichi is not a stand-up kind of guy. Kyoichi has had affairs on his wife, and his main defense is essentially he doesn't know how to say no to people who admit that they are attracted to him. He literally has a problem saying, no, I'm taken, and staying away from these people. And while Imagase absorbs this information and does not turn Kyoichi into his wife, Imagase does a little bit use that to his advantage, because he knows that if he comes on strong enough to Kyoichi, Kyoichi will eventually break down and let him in. So we do see this really kind of messed up relationship between the two developing, where Imagase, his feelings towards Kyoichi are true, regardless of how he uses them to manipulate Kyoichi. He does actually have genuine affection for Kyoichi. It's just interesting, and just in case you're thinking about feeling bad for the wife, don't. She does end up divorcing Kyoichi. She was actually just looking for an excuse to blame him. I believe she was actually having another relationship as well. So the two do split fairly early on. It didn't really matter about Imagase and the whole investigation, because they decide to go their separate ways, which is definitely for the better. They probably should not have been together. So the rest of the story just follows Imagase pursuing Kyoichi, Kyoichi having a lot of doubts because he's never seen himself as being able to have a relationship with another man. So there's a lot of just denial on any attraction on his part, and trying to stop anything from starting or going too far, but at the same time really wanting to let Imagase in, because Imagase is continually confessing his love. So they have a very interesting dynamic, but it's also very frustrating. Kyoichi is a very, very wishy-washy character. I mean, you can sort of get that by the fact that he literally will sleep with anybody that says that they love him, at least enough times. He'll just quickly get swept away by those feelings. It doesn't really matter that the feelings weren't necessarily genuine inside of him. He will easily get swept away by those feelings and get into a relationship with these people. And so he's a very frustrating character. As these things go, by the end of this volume, they are together, but in a very tentative, semi-uncomfortable relationship where it's still Kyoichi is ready to run at any minute, but also not, because he loves that Imagase loves him, more so than acknowledging any genuine feelings within himself. So like they're together and he doesn't mind being together because Imagase loves him, but where's his genuine emotions and feelings for the relationship? We don't know. So you're kind of okay at the end of this because they ended up together, but you're also not really satisfied because Kyoichi is just not necessarily invested 100%. You can't trust that he's shown any genuine emotions. And that, of course, leads to the carp on the chopping block jumps twice. And this one is high drama, where, yes, the boundaries of their relationships are tested, and it does become a book about growing for both of the characters, because Kyoichi has to acknowledge and accept the fact that he is attracted to Imagase, and Imagase has to get over a lot of his own insecurities and jealousy and just the belief that he will be left behind because he was not Kyoichi's first, choice of a partner. So unlike maybe some other series that it's mostly just about fluff, and some series where it's going to be more about smut, and I have issues with some of those series, I think that this one definitely gets into drama and character development and relationships. So if you're looking for something where you want that character-driven story with plot, then you can pick these two volumes up. They are definitely more character-driven. There's definitely plot. There's definitely a lot of questions about relationships and getting into a relationship and making a relationship work and how that should happen. There is an interesting author's note at the end where she writes on what inspired her to write this, because obviously she is a straight woman, and so how could she get into the mind of the character? And so it was really written based on her perspective of what she would do as a traditionally straight woman if there was another woman that pursued her. And so really, in her mind, Kyoichi is really her, because she believes that if somebody came across very strongly toward her with emotions of love, she wouldn't be able to help but reciprocate that feeling of love. And I thought that was really interesting, and also confessional about having that kind of thought. And obviously, because of her publisher and the way that the system works, she told the story this way, as a BL story. But if you read this, just know that Kyoichi is a bit inspired by the author herself, as frustrating as that might be. So not all of the parts of the narrative, but essentially Kyoichi's development and character progression and realizing about feelings is based on the author's interpretation of herself and what she would do in those situations. And I find that fascinating. And again, the story itself was fascinating. Her other works are super interesting and psychological, so if you ever want to check out, I think After School Nightmare is out of print, so it's a little bit harder to find. Black Rose Alice, I think you can still get, and like I said, I think that is incomplete. Either that or it didn't have a great ending. I don't remember which. But you could just sample her drama and storytelling. I think that it's fascinating. I like the psychological aspects. I think she's a good storyteller and is good with characters and character development. And her art is unique but attractive at the same time. So I would say, if you want to check it out, check it out. I thought it was a very interesting story, very engaging. And, you know, I do like her storytelling and art. So for me, it was a, yes, I will read this kind of piece. And that's about all I have to say about that. That's it for this video. Until next time, bye.